If there is one man the UPA government despised for his scam reports, it has been Vinod Rai. The ex-Comptroller and Auditor General has never spoken till now, and now he has. In a frankly speaking interview, he has spared no one, not Manmohan Singh, whose role in 2G and Coal gate he exposes. Not 3 Congress members of Parliament who he names and says try to pressurize him in Parliament to keep Manmohan Singh's name out. Not the ex-Civil Aviation Minister Praful Patel, who he says told his ministry officials not to reveal his direct role in ensuring a $1 billion contract.
His first ever interview, and he stunts at the start. The ex-CAG says 3 well-known Congress MPs, incidentally all of them party spokespersons, broke all rules of propriety by asking him to keep the PM out of the 2G scam.
I mentioned in the book that after the PSC meeting on the 2G, Congress MPs did tell me that let's keep the Prime Minister out of this. Now, my logic then was that there were...
Which Congress MP?
There were 3-4 Congress MPs. They're not MPs anymore.
Please name
so
them.
It's very easy to find out who are they.
No, it's not, because most of the Congress MPs did not get re-elected, so it would be rather difficult.
So I can't recall the names just now, but the Congress MPs who were present in those meetings were Mr. Sanjay Nirupam, Mr. Ashwani Kumar, Mr. Sandeep, Dikshit. Now, which of them were at the lunch telling me to do that, I really can't tell you.
But all of these MPs in different ways did tell you to keep the PM out of it.
PM out. But that was the time when the report was already out. And I mentioned to them that there are letters written by Mr. Raja to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister is replying to them on the same day. And these were decisions which were taken by the Telecom Minister, keeping the Prime Minister fully informed. How do we keep them out?
It's a completely unethical thing to do for members of Parliament who are in a PSC to try and influence you and say that keep the Prime Minister out of it.
But there's no way in which they could have unethical or ethical
but they
otherwise.
Did try.
But they did
try.
But the report was already out.
But they did try to.
Yeah, but the report was already out.
So what did they say to you?
I mean, they just said, let's keep him out.
I have never spoken to CAG, former CAG. I have never spoken to him with regard to any individual. Whatever he's talking is all lies.
Then he drops the second bombshell, that one of the senior-most members of UPA2, Kamal Nath, warned Manmohan Singh about the 2G scam, a fact which destroys the standard defense Manmohan Singh put out.
Some compromises have to be made in managing a coalition government.
I want to start by discussing the role of the Prime Minister at that time, Dr. Manmohan Singh. You write, and I quote, "He, that is Manmohan Singh, chose for reasons which can only be speculated to ignore the warning signals." Let me ask you very directly, Mr. Rai, do you put the onus of the 2G scam on Manmohan Singh? Do you think that Manmohan Singh could have prevented the 2G scam and failed?
See, it's like this. The Prime Minister in any country, or as a primus inter pares of a Council of Ministers, is number 1.
Yes.
All matters of importance go to the Prime Minister. And ultimately, the buck stops on the Prime Minister's desk. In this particular case, I found that there were ministers of his own council who were writing to him time and again that saying problems are, or there is talk about developments in the telecom sector. I've quoted Mr. Kamal Nath, who was then the Commerce and Industry Minister, writing to the Prime Minister and expressing concern about the developments in the sector. I've written about the Finance Ministry expressing concerns. I've written about the Law Ministry expressing concerns. Now, all these things went to the Prime Minister.
Bombshell number 3. None less than Pranab Mukherjee cautioned Manmohan Singh that Coalgate was about to be exposed, that there was something seriously wrong. And yet the PM did nothing.
2012.
What did the then Finance Minister do with your advice?
He said, yes, we must bring this to notice to the Prime Minister. And we did bring this to the notice of the Prime Minister, that the draft report is out. And before the final report comes, the government must take its own.
You said we did, as a there was a meeting?
I mean, the Finance Minister and me.
The Finance Minister and you?
Yes.
Met?
I mean, we had a meeting with the Prime Minister.
The then Finance Minister and you had a meeting with the Prime Minister?
Yeah. The Prime Minister was apprised by both of us.
Have you revealed this also in your book?
We haven't talked about meetings because...
But there was a meeting between you, the then Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh and the then Finance Minister. I presume you're referring to the present President of India,
Yes,
Pranab Mukherjee.
to indicate what were the findings in the draft.
When was this meeting?
This was at the stage of the preparation of the draft report,
Around which time frame would it be, sir, you think?
I don't recall when the coal report was put out, but it must have been about 2 months before the final report was tabled. Because we have a process in which we report the draft findings to government, so that if government has to make any comments on it, and we don't want to be factually incorrect, we at that time we point out the draft findings, and this discussion should have taken place around that time.
And so what did the Prime Minister do?
Well, I don't know. None of the advice that I really gave, or none of the suggestions that I made, emanated from government. The government just gave us a reply to whatever the things were, and talked about our computation and said, look, legislative processes take a long time, so from 2004 to 2012 we haven't been doing. Well, that's it. We incorporated all the...
Did you ever hear back? Did you have any conversation with those who were in that meeting? Either the then Finance Minister or the Prime Minister on what happened?
Well, not really. We didn't get a hear back, but evidently these issues must have been discussed among the cabinet colleagues, and it must have been decided to go through with whatever...
What was the then Finance Minister's own view? Did he take what you said seriously?
Well, yes, the Finance Minister, in fact, I must say to the credit of the then Finance Minister, Mr. Pranab Mukherjee, 2-3 issues which I brought to his notice, immediately took them. Another notice, the issue that we brought to his notice was amendments which the Audit Act needed to be taken, and he acted upon immediately.
Not even Vinod Rai's greatest critics would question his assessment of Manmohan Singh's role in the CWG scam.
The Prime Minister of India certified an unaccountable structure to spend huge amounts of taxpayer money.
That's exactly why I said in form and in substance both it was incorrect.
Should the Prime Minister have not done that?
Well, it's very difficult for me.
Should the Prime Minister have applied his mind at that time and seen through the consequences?
See, we had this example of the Asian Games earlier. Asian Games, if you recall, were Mr. Bhuta Singh was then actually made in charge of the Asian Games, and he was a sitting minister. There could have been a role for the Indian Olympic Association, but under the overall charge of a minister, because a minister can be better accountable to Parliament and to the...
So the Prime Minister strengthened Suresh Kalmadi?
Well, the Prime Minister appointed him, certainly so. Certainly so.
So the root cause of the CWG scam goes back to 2004, to that decision?
If somebody in government, accountable to the Finance Ministry, or accountable to the Parliament in the nature of being a minister, had been there, certainly he could have been held far more accountable.
Sensational disclosure number 5. A fairly straight allegation that Praful Patel pressurized the Air India board to add billions of dollars worth of extra planes to Air India, and then brazenly tried to cover up his role.
Of how many planes did they finally buy?
They bought 68 of them.
So they wanted to take 28, they took 68.
68.
40 more planes.
Because what happened was, then this meeting took a decision that they look at a longer term perspective. The CMD went back to his board, discussed it. The board sought a clarification, which also I've mentioned in it. And the clarification was, what exactly? So they said, look, you have to look at a longer term perspective, which was clearly the government indicating to Air India that, look, you must buy a larger number of aircraft. Now, we found this strange.
What kind of money would that involve?
Oh, well, it was about 38,000 crores.
Since broadcasting the interview, a slew of political reactions have come in. The debate will start now. One thing is clear, Manmohan Singh's role in India's biggest scams has only started getting uncovered now. Bureau Report, Times Now.